Hey guys, welcome back to Young and Herd. St. Bonaventure survives to see another day in the Atlantic-10 tournament. Ryan Lombardi, Carson Haig, Ryan Adio with you as we're going to recap the St. Bonaventure Bonnies' big win over LaSalle, 99-80. Or I guess when you're listening to this, it would be yesterday afternoon, and then today they will be taking on the George Mason Patriots at 2 p.m. And boys, I don't think we expected. I think we expected St. Bonaventure to win. I don't think we expected that much of an offensive explosion from them.
Yeah, they had 48 points in that first half. I thought they were going to eclipse 100 on the game. Would have been the first time since 2016. But offensively, that's been their strong point of the whole season. You look 94 points. They dropped twice not too long ago. They put up a 99-point outing, I think it was, right, against LaSalle, right? So they shot 56% or something like that from the field as well. So it was an effective outing offensively and defensively. Even Coach Schmidt touched on it. He saw things as the game went on. He thought defensively they got better and better. They held LaSalle to just 4 threes, and that's something they've really struggled with perimeter defense this year. It's all encouraging signs at the right point in time this season. But then again, you got to take into the fact, hey, LaSalle, they're banged up. As it is, they're not the greatest opponent in the A10. That has a little something probably to do with the results today. But I thought for St. Bonaventure, they got their business done. They did their job. They got the win that everyone expected, but they also put the game away, and they had an added statement to it and had an offensive explosion and a good time, and they're going to need that to translate coming against George Mason.
Yeah, I know it's going to sound dumb, but this is probably the best case scenario for the Bonnies. They didn't make the game close. They proved they were the better team throughout. I think they led in almost every single stat. Even before halftime, they led in almost every stat. Maybe they led in points by paint by 2 points, but they had all of their points down there under the rim. I think the Bonnies came out. They proved that they were the better team. They proved that they are a force in this tournament. They're not just something you can push over. And honestly, gave me a lot of faith for today's game, if you're watching this as well. And it's exciting. It's exciting. This is the basketball we expected them to play all season, and it's just catching up now. But
yeah, St. Bonaventure, 4 days ago, you find out Mark Schmidt is retiring and not going to be with the team next year. This is his last run, and they delivered one of the most dominant performances we've seen from them all season long, and it was a performance that was missing from much of the season. That was a different St. Bonaventure team we saw, but we saw flashes of this team all season long. They just couldn't put it together like they did today.
Yeah, 46 points they finished with points to paint. That's the most since the Colgate game back before conference play even started. And they played well throughout the perimeter. Buddy Simmons made some big threes. Caden Charles got in there a little bit. Boonaway got in there as well when it came to deep threes. But down low, I thought they did a really, really nice job getting downhill. Frank Mitchell had himself a day after a slow start. Andrew Osasui made some plays on both ends of the court. Was a nice play. It made a nice impact off the bench. And I was really, really impressed just collectively as a whole from Bonaventure's offense. They got rebounds, you name it. They really, really put together an A+ game.
Yeah, they definitely did get hurt by Rob Dockery. Dockery finished with, let me double check this, 33 points and 10 rebounds. He had a double-double.
Is that a career high or season high?
It was his career high.
Career high.
Career high 33 points entered, coming off, 2 25-point games back-to-back, one in which he did set his career high, and he just continues to be on a tear. Obviously, LaSalle, we talked about it all last night. We don't need to get back into it, but, they're banged up with injuries, and they were just banged up, but they had at least one player ball out today for them in Dockery. But I really thought the way the team just handled the win, and it was very much like act like you've been there before, because that St. Bonaventure has. We talked about it. They have never been in that pillow fight game before. First time for everything. They get it done, and St. Bonaventure has reached at least the quarterfinals. At least in 10 of the 12 last season. So another thing to definitely know entering today's game.
Yeah, definitely. You talk about a team like George Mason. That's a team that at times this year has been one of the best teams in the Atlantic-10. They beat St. Louis by almost 30. That is one heck of a victory for this team. It happened towards the end of the regular season. There's been times where I believe they suffered a 4 or 5 game losing streak before playing St. Bonaventure that second time. They snapped it against the Bonnies. Bonaventure had a great chance. They really should have beat George Mason the first time in the Riley Center. They blew a lead late. Game kind of just got away from them. Frank Mitchell had some free throws towards the end. Couldn't capitalize on those, right? It's just been a up and down year, I think, for George Mason. The consistency has been there for a majority of the year, but they also have shown that they have a low floor and a really, really high ceiling at times. But a game that certainly is winnable, at least from the perspective of St. Bonaventure. It's always tough to beat a team 3 times. But with that said, I think St. Bonaventure's margin of error is a lot slimmer than George Mason. They're just a more talented team.
I guess my question would be, would you rather play George Mason or would you rather play Davidson? The other kind of
George Mason for sure.
I would agree as well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I think Davidson is a very good team, and I think they match up better with George. I think St. Bonaventure matches up better with George Mason than they do Davidson. I think Davidson is a team that can beat you getting downhill, but they can also beat you from beyond the arc. George Mason a little bit. They're very good at getting downhill, and they can shoot the 3 ball. But just St. Bonaventure's seen them already twice this season, almost winning one of those games. The other one, St. Bonaventure, really never had a chance. And that's also another thing I want to note, because St. Bonaventure, has a 94-point win over Rhode Island, and then next time out, play George Mason, and they put up a stinker. They just put up 99 points yesterday, and are going to see George Mason again. How are they going to respond and kind of try and carry that momentum into this game? It's obviously on back-to-back days, so sometimes, you're just seeing the ball well, you're shooting it well, but also these guys are probably sore and a little banged up.
Yeah, I mean, Schmidt said it himself. I mean, we keep saying it over and over, but it's this game. They got to see the court. They've had 2 hours of warm-up time now. They're playing in a neutral site. They're more warmed up. They have more momentum heading into this game. I think if they catch George Mason on a back foot, I mean, sure, they have the extra rest day, but I think they could catch him at a bad time. You mentioned, I mean, the word you used earlier that I really liked was streaky. They're very, very streaky. I mean, if you catch him on a bad streak, a low momentum point, I think this is a very winnable game. Will they be at one of those points, though? If we see the George Mason team that they are very capable of being, it's going to be a tough day.
Yeah.
George Mason coming off their best game of the year, where they did take down St. Louis over the weekend at home in Fairfax, Virginia, where they won 86-57 over the A-10 regular season champ, the A-10 favorite. So definitely something of note, as they're going to come in with energy, a little cocky maybe. They're like, yeah, we just beat the favorite, so they're ready to go. So very curious to see how they're going to come out tomorrow out of the gates, and especially because it's bang bang. They're going to have 30 minutes to maybe warm up after following that first game of the day. So they got to move it quick.
Yeah, those first 10 to 20 minutes in that first half, I think, is going to be either where the game's won or lost for St. Bonaventure. Coach Schmidt talked about the advantage, and what you do with that and how you capitalize on that, I think, is going to be the tell of the story. If St. Bonaventure comes out and they have a 5-point lead at half, I think they got a really, really good chance of prevailing in that. Yeah, they've really been pretty rough when it comes to close games this season. But if they can get themselves a little bit of a lead at half, and then when George Mason starts to get acclimated to the environment a little bit, I think George Mason is the better basketball team. But we'll have to see how much of an advantage that really is, if it is at all any of an advantage. And at the end of the day, George Mason, I bring it up all the time in tournament play. It's not just about, in this case, Coach Schmidt coaching his last game, but it's also about the seniors, the guys who are graduating for both squads. It's George Mason. Those guys are going to empty the tank. They're going to leave it out there. The graduate players. It's just nobody's willing to go down without a fight, and I think that's the beauty of win or go home.
Yeah, and some players talked about it. Desante Bowen, when asked if Coach Schmidt played a factor in him retiring on today, and he was like, I don't think it affects us at all. Like, yeah, we're just going to play just as hard. And he went on to talk about how Coach Schmidt, one of the most selfless people. So when you see the players, taking a step back, they're like, no, we're not playing just because it's our last game. And they're playing because they love this guy, they love this team, and they've really bought into what Coach Schmidt is trying to do for this Bonaventure program. Even Frank Mitchell just talking about, Coach Schmidt and what he means to him. He was saying, Coach Schmidt is always on me. He said, Schmidt's on me 24/7, and he's pushing me, so I know what I have to do. And he brought up early in the season something we heard Schmidt talk about so much early in the season. The fact that Frank Mitchell's still reining that in and was bringing that up in the post-game press conference. Frank Mitchell is like, yeah, got to be a blue-collar effort. It has to be. Have to grab a rebound, have to find somewhere to be, And I just thought Frank Mitchell just having, Schmidt's back. He's like, Schmidt's our guy. Even Frank Mitchell in the locker room today giving Schmidt the Bonaventure belt, the WWE belt, like, that goes to the player of the game. He gave it to, the GOAT in Mark Schmidt. So I just love that the players are buying in and to what Coach Schmidt is trying to do.
Yeah, there's definitely a camaraderie in this locker room. I think, and that's something that maybe, I mean,
sorry to interrupt. You have selfless players as well.
Absolutely.
That's something we wanted to add.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, of all of the teams in the A10 right now, I would go out of my way to say the Bonnies are playing for the most. I think that they're really backed behind this long-tenured coach who changed this program, who changed a lot of their lives, who really impacted them so much that I think that they have the momentum and the I don't know what else you would say, but I think they have something that's different than a lot of other teams.
Yeah, they're playing for more than just themselves, I
Right.
think, at this point in time. And we've seen teams that have had their backs against the wall, per se, with coaches retiring, like LaSalle last year. They came out with an upset. Coaches that are maybe quote unquote on the hot seat, right? Like that sometimes sparks a team and it cultivates a team to play a little harder. Yeah, maybe they're not going to come out and say, yeah, we're playing harder for Coach Schmidt come in the postseason, but you can't tell me it's not weighing on the back of their minds just a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about tomorrow. George Mason, just overall thoughts, analysis as we close this one out and kind of preview them.
Yeah, George Mason, they're a stacked team, right? They're well coached. Alan Spock's an absolute tank down low. Mincy's a great player. Fat Hill's another guy who can get the job done for George Mason. They're just a pretty solid team collectively. A lot of guys, the free throws were the difference. In the first time at the Riley Center, Bonaventure was unable to capitalize on opportunities late. It felt like they were playing two opponents. A, George Mason, obviously, but B, themselves. Like you could feel the pressure and the anticipation and anxiety building in that arena. And it slipped away from them. The second game, they didn't even have, I don't think they had a lead. So for Bonaventure, you're going to have to get off to a fast start, I think, on that game. You have the advantage of playing on that court. You also have the advantage of playing the game before, playing the day before. That can give you a little bit of you're still in the flow state a little bit. As the game goes on, that starts to work against you. But to me, fast start tomorrow is going to be absolutely critical if the Bonnies have any shot at winning against a team as talented and as well coached as the Patriots.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. If they're leading at half, I could really see a different game. But if this is a first half dominance from George Mason, that rest really caught up to them, and that was the big factor, which, teams that have that prior, it's usually the first half they come out fat, and then, like you said, it takes that toll in the second half. So I think if that is what happens with the Bonnies, they take that first half momentum swing, I think that this could be a very different game. But I've touched on it already. They're very streaky. We're not sure what George Mason you're going to get, but I mean they were the regular season winners last year in the A10. This isn't the exact same team, obviously, but they're the 5 seed, correct? I mean, They're still a great squad, and honestly, they pretty much dominated last game they played us.
Yeah, I mean they're on a tear right now. They lost by 5 to VCU. That was at VCU. But otherwise, I mean, they've been struggling down the stretch, to say the least. I mean, like Carson said, streaky team. They lost to Richmond by 12, who just got eliminated today.
Yeah, that was rough.
By the way, they lost to George Washington by 19. They lost to Dayton by 15. Lost to St. Joe's by 18, and that was all in that 4-game losing streak. Then beat St. Bonaventure, but that was almost like another one of those. It's like, oh, we're on a losing streak. We're going to respond today at home, right. And it almost felt like it was just timing of it all, where it was like, oh, that's going to be their get back. That's going to be the response game that we see so often in all sports. So really curious. I don't know what to expect tomorrow. We made final score predictions. I don't know I think I was the closest with. I think I had St. Bonaventure scoring 89 points.
Okay.
They scored 99. But honestly, I could not make you a final score prediction tomorrow because we don't know what George Mason team's going to come out. We don't know what St. Bonaventure team's going to come out because I think these teams are so bipolar. George Mason, just on the one hand, has been able to close out those games that St. Bonaventure, who's 0-9 in, has struggled too.
Yeah, I will give you a score prediction.
All right.
I think this one's going to be it. I think George Mason just has more. I think they just have a little bit more in the tank, and I think the caliber of their team is just a little bit better. And it's no slight against Bonaventure. It's just George Mason's one of the league's best, and I think Bonaventure is going to keep it really, really close. I think they're going to have a lead at half, but when George Mason turns it up, you're going to feel it. And I think George Mason's going to take this one. Give me them 81-79.
Ryan?
Okay, I it pains me to say this, but I think I'll also take George Mason. I think they just pull away late. I think it'll be a close game up until maybe midway through the second half. I think George Mason pulls away. I think it's a defensive game, both kind of streaky offenses. I'm going to go with a bit of a lower scoring. I'll go like 72-64.
72-64. Okay. I don't want to give a final score prediction because
that's tough.
It's really hard.
Come on, you got to give us one.
I do want to bring up something. I will hint, I guess, at my final score prediction, but Coach Schmidt got asked about what is it about this team being able, it's not easy to respond after losing close games. Like, what has been the steps to kind of make that turnaround? And he's like, well, we're 0-9 in those close games, and he brought up.
So hold on, one quick. Here's my question, and I fact check this. The Bonnies beat Fordham 70-67. So I don't know why he keeps running on with this stat. But
I actually forgot about that.
That's just my point. So I regardless, continue on.
You can't fact check him, man. Not right now.
He's on an absolute heater right now. I mean, they just came off one of their best games of the season. I'm never going to fact check him on that, but
he's believing it. It's extra momentum in the tank.
Locker room material.
You said we weren't going to fact check anyway. Continue on.
Now you just kind of ruined what I was going to say. So now I'm upset. No, but he brought up Jack Nicklaus, and he once said,
"We got the tornado warning."
That did happen. Check Twitter. It was an awesome clip. He said, "You learn how to win by winning." And you got to put yourself in a position to win again, and they just haven't been able to do that in those close games. So he's like, maybe they'll tell you tomorrow how we were able to pull that one out, but we haven't done it yet this year. So maybe St. Bonaventure, 10 times the charm, where they might be able to pull this one out.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that they have had some close wins this year, I think they're 3-9 in games.
In a 10 play. They have not really closed any game. You mentioned the Fordham game. Early in the year, they were closing out games, but it was scary.
It was also against lesser opponents per se.
Youngstown State.
But yeah, tomorrow is going to be a great game, and I'm really looking. Well, today, depending on when you're.
All right, I'm going to rip a final score prediction. I'm going Bonnie 74, George Mason 67.
Oh, now you decided.
He was just waiting to cut you off.
Yes,
he didn't. Yeah,
it's okay. Well, hey, it's going to be a great game tomorrow.
St. Bonaventure 74. George Mason, 67.
Wow, 7-point win for the Bonnies is what he has.
All right.
Okay.
All right. And, what do you think? They're going to pull away at the end, or?
I think St. Bonaventure is going to lead in most of this game. I think it's going to be a back and forth battle in the first half, and I think late in the second half, St. Bonaventure is just going to have some possessions where they just find the bottom of the basketball. I think, look out, Buddy Simmons to get hot, maybe Frank Mitchell. If he does not come out slow like he did today, I mean, the turnovers were no joke for Frank Mitchell today. It could have been a problem. He had 4 turnovers in the first half. In second half, just 1. And the 1 turnover in the second half, you can't really get too upset with. It was him driving inside and looked for a cross-court pass, and it got picked off. It was just a good defensive play by LaSalle. So, he cleaned it up, but it was really early on where, he was struggling. And I even asked him about it. I was like, yo, Frank, what happened with the slow start? But he said, I got great teammates, great coaches around me to help me do my thing. So, the players are buying in. I think St. Bonaventure's got this.
Yeah, I think Frank and Buddy are the 2 obvious choices. I mean, DeSante had a great game today as well. I mean, again,
secondary scoring is so big.
You want to talk about a guy who's also leaving it all on the line. I mean, all of these players DeSante, his last year, correct? He's pretty much done after this. Leaving it all on the line. I mean, the captain, Mark Schmidt, can only talk so highly of him so often. I think he's probably going to be the focal point. And he had a great game today. There's not much more I can say about him. Bunaway had a great game. If we see more of Osasui, I mean, I think that's really, I mean, Caden Charles, we'll just go down the whole roster at this point. But
Ostrom.
Yeah, it was
Ostrom hit a 3.
It was a great team performance from the Bonnies. If they can recreate that, I don't see why not. I don't see why not they can't win.
All right, any final thoughts here as we close this one out?
They better be ready to bring it tomorrow. I'll just leave it at that. I think you gotta get off to a quick start. That's absolutely paramount. Paramount. And if you're going to be chasing, it's going to be a really uphill battle, considering you're going to be a little bit fatigued from the game that you played against LaSalle, and you just have to start fast, or it's not negotiable.
They're better in the morning too. I mean, it's an afternoon game.
2-0 this year in the morning.
2-0 at the 11:30 a.m. tip time.
True sample size there, huh?
Yeah. All right, well, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Catch us on WSBU 88.3 FM, The Buzz, at 1:45. We'll have the pregame show with you and all the action starting at 2 p.m. For tip-off. We don't know who's calling that game yet, so I think you are, right, Carson?
Yeah, well, that's the tentative plan. We'll see how the media...
I know, yeah, we'll see how it works out. But we appreciate you guys tuning in to WSBU, Afterthought Sports, as well as TAP Integrator Only. And we will talk to you guys hopefully tomorrow if St. Bonaventure keeps surviving. Have a great day, everybody.